Good morning, social media land. It is Jamie Alilaw here with you again. And today's conversation topic is going to be around commitment. So I just spent this past weekend having what has been transformational for me conversations around commitment and just really what commitment is, my relationship to it, how I relate to commitment, what commitment has to offer, and just really looking into what it is I'm actually committed to. Um, it's an interesting conversation. It's inspired because I have committed to going live every Thursday at 10 a.m. And what I found is when we make commitments, when we declare what we're going to do, sometimes those things get challenged by circumstances. Life pops up and happens, and then we respond to it. We make choices from there, right? And oftentimes those choices are informed by where our actual commitments lie. So I made this commitment to myself, and I am now I'm outside because life has happened, and I've just left visiting with um, a beloved family member who is in the hospital. Doing well, but she had to come to the hospital because she was sick. She wasn't feeling well. And I needed to get by here to see her, and also wanted to honor my commitment to myself to be live. So this is the conversation today about commitment. And I was really confronted with some things this weekend. A lot of times when we talk about commitment, we talk about it in terms of relationships, specifically like romantic relationships. Like people talk all the time, like, oh, fear of commitment, talking about fear of settling down or being with one person at a time or everything. But I suppose we can have that fear of commitment around all sorts of things. But what is it that we're really fearing? What I realized was that when I'm afraid to commit to something, it's because I'm oriented on all of the things that I'm going to have to walk away from, right? So if I commit to doing this at this time, then it means I can't do all of the countless other things that might possibly maybe come up at that same time, right? And so it's just classic fear of missing out, right? So I don't want to commit to this event or to commit to this person because there's a fear of what about all of the other things that might possibly come out. And this weekend was really just kind of exposed to another perspective of commitment actually serving as liberating and a source of, because it then gets to focus my attention and my energy in the direction that I'm going, rather than hypothesizing or fantasizing or even fearing those things that might come up, that might happen, that might not come up, might not happen. But there's a freedom in declaring and saying, this is the direction that I'm going, and I'm committed to that, and letting it be known and going in that direction, and being unconditional about it, not you know wavering just because of different conditions that come up, or feelings that arise. And so I had that shift. Like, okay, so rather than looking at commitment as, okay, what am I going to give up, it's what am I going to gain. Which, saying that out loud, it's like, well, that might seem kind of basic, but whatever, it it worked for me. um and then there's this conversation about, like, what is commitment anyway? Like, and for me, I realized that it is being about something and truly being about it, right? Like saying, this is what I'm about, saying, this is what I'm going to do, and pursuing that. Um, but then it's like, well, where do we stop with our commitments? And I recognized that I had this story for myself that was developed, way back, that if you try your hardest, if you do your best, then it's okay to stop. And I've had success in my life, right? I've tried hard, I've worked hard, I've pushed through and have experienced some successes. And then there are some areas where I've tried hard, I've pushed through and then was not successful. And I realized that in those situations, I was like, well, it means it wasn't meant to be, or it's okay to stop, or it's okay to shift my focus. And I'm not judging myself as right or wrong in those instances. But it's an interesting thing to look at, like, where do I stop short, and what reasoning do I give? I was listening to an interview Maria Forley was doing, and I'm so sorry I can't remember the doctor's name, but I remember she was a featured guest on Oprah, and Oprah actually identified her as her most inspirational guest ever. And so when I remember her name, I'm going to put it in the comments. But she spoke about how she had a dream of coming to America and getting, yes, Dr. Tara, there it is. Thank you, Michelle. Dr. Tara, she had a dream to come to the United States. Well, actually, she had a dream to get her high school diploma. Then she had a dream to get her bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate. And then her mother actually helped her to round out that dream by connecting it and rooting it in a purpose that was bigger than herself. And so she expanded that dream to be able to bring back her knowledge, her information, and to be able to support her community and to support women. And she told a story about how it took her 8 years to get her high school degree, how she had to submit paperwork to Cambridge, wait 3 to 6 months to hear back, and oftentimes she heard back and it was fail or ungraded. So she had to pay again, submit again. Mind you, she didn't have the money for this. Her mom would do everything that she could, selling whatever she could to get the money for her to repeat and take these tests that she kept failing. And what I realized is that from my previous philosophy around commitment, I would have been like, you know what, girl, you did your best. You submitted. Maybe it's time to go someplace else. Maybe this is not the way. Let's find another way. And I don't know that I would have been wrong for that. But I also recognize in my life that there are some things that I will not have access to if I keep that relationship with commitment. So what I got from Dr. Tara was she just kept going. Tara Trent. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. She continued and she kept going despite the failures, like consistent failures for 8 years. Like a lot of times we would be like, 8 years is too long. That's not I'm not gonna keep doing this. It must be saying something when it could just be saying keep going. And so that is the new philosophy that I have adopted around commitment. Keep going. Keep going. Failure is not an indication of my worth. It's not an indication of my ability. It may just be an indicator that the tactics and the approach might need to shift, but that the vision and the purpose and the intention, I'm going to stay committed to that. I'm going to stay connected to that. So I have started the process of reevaluating my own commitments, really looking at what it is I am committed to, and big picture stuff, right? Like I'm committed to raising my daughter to be self-sufficient, empowered, full of joy, a creator in her own life and in her community, a global citizen. The how of doing that might be flexible, right? We've had ways that we've gone about doing that, and support that we've gotten in that mission. And I know that I'm committed to that with her and for her. I'm committed to myself and my dreams, of empowering women and being empowered myself to listen to my inner voice and to use my speaking voice and that same work with women to do the same. So yeah, so this is just a conversation around commitment, and I encourage you to look at your own relationship to commitment. Where are the places that you stop short on the things that you say that you're committed to? And what are some ways that you can shift that story that will keep you going forward and pursuing, even when you're met with failure, even when you're met with incompletion, even when things are not going the way that you think they should in the time that you think they should? What shifts can you make in the story that you tell yourself about your commitment and about yourself and your value and your worth in order to support you being successful with the things that you're committed to? All right, I'm about to leave this this hospital parking lot is cold out here. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts about commitment. I would love to hear about some of your commitments and some of the shifts that you have been making in your